Some of you out there may know who the Three Stooges are. The three lovable goofballs going on misadventures trying to do something right but ended up always causing chaos on the earth. The funny slapstick here has entertained generations of people and still influences people to this day. Well, what if I tell you there is a Three Stooges film that takes the slapstick violence and makes it deadly? That sounds a bit far-fetched, right? Well, according to this story, that did indeed happen. So, sit down, relax, and listen on to the story of Three Stooges' Dead Dunderheads. When the original Three Stooges aired in 1930, it was obviously going to be a big hit. It aired in almost every movie theater. Three Stooges were only shown in movie theaters for the first few years because television wasn't as common as it used to be across the country. The Three Stooges had begun to air on television and had multiple spin-offs, including The Three Stooges with Moe, Joe, and Larry, or The Three Stooges with Moe, Sharp, and Larry. But everyone's favorite was The Three Stooges with Coley Howard. Opinions began to change when almost every Three Stooges fan was exposed to one of the most shocking episodes yet. In 1947, the episode Half-Wit's Holiday was about to come to theaters. The episode marked the end of the Moe, Larry, and Coley era, as Coley had suffered a major stroke on set. Surprisingly, the episode only aired in 2 or 3 theaters in the US, and only a few people had attended the screenings for it. On the 4th day of its release, the film aired at a small suburban neighborhood shopping center. The shopping center had a theater with the latest films of the generation. According to officials, only 3 of the 4 individuals have arrived in the theater to watch a sample screening of what they thought would be Half-Wit's Holiday. It was well revealed that it was much more than that. The episode started off normally, as any regular episode would. The tie flames only faded into view and remained on screen for a good minute. This is where things began to go awry. The tie flame began to shake violently, then disappeared altogether. The viewers were shown a white screen for a good 5 minutes and reported quite a ruckus, possibly a struggle of an individual. An alternate tile flame faded into view and simply read The Three Stooges in a similar font, except without the faces of the main actors and the music playing in the background. The title flame faded out, and the name of the episode was widely printed across the screen. The words read Dead Dunderheads for explicit, then abruptly transitioned to Dead Dunderheads, then simply just to Dead. The screen quickly transferred to the actual film. A camera faced a room with no furniture, with the exception of some trap on the ground and a ladder in the background. It apparently looked as if a room was being remodeled. A man dressed up as Moe waddles onto the screen reluctantly, wearing a cheap bowl cut wig that looked as if it was about to fall off. A tag is clearly seen in the back of the wig, whether it was for entertainment purposes or not. The man had a worried look on his face, his eyes darting around the room nervously, his fingers constantly fidgeting. He appeared to be waiting for someone to come on screen. Small mumbles are heard in the background, and after about 30 seconds, a so-called Coley is apparently pushed on screen. Coley was an overweight man with a black eye and multiple cuts on his cheek and scalp. His mouth was slanted in a downward position, and he too looked nervous. He told Moe to go check the flooring on the other side of the room in an unprofessional way, quietly with a couple of words slurred. Moe suffers off camera And as soon as he leaves the sight of the camera, a so-called Larry walks onto the screen. This had to be the worst of the two. It was a female, with her male messily cut in style to represent the original Larry from the original Stooges. During lines, he would occasionally sob or mispronounce a word or two. Curly tells her that he needs to fix the roof and points to the ladder. By now, tears are clearly visible streaming down Larry's face as he hesitates to walk over to the ladder. She finally seems to build up enough courage to climb up a few steps on the ladder and pretends to work on the roof with a wrench. Coley then bends down and pulls out a toolbox. He reveals that he has multiple sharp, dangerous tools with him and lays them out on the trap. For a few minutes, everything seems to normal. Around the 3-minute mark, Mo walks onto the screen, stares at the ladder that Larry is working on, and heaves a heavy sigh. He slowly walks by the ladder as the camera zooms in on his feet. One as if he gets caught on one of the legs of the ladder, and the ladder is swept from underneath Larry. Mo hits the ground hard as the ladder comes crashing down. Larry falls onto the ground on top of the ladder, along with the wrench, which hits Mo in the back of the head. Mo appears to spew blood on the ground, but by the next frame the blood is gone and Mo is cleaned up. A look of pain comes onto the face of the female Larry. He struggles to stand up, and it appears that he had landed on his wrist. As he curses his lips tragically as he walks over to Mo, waits for him to stand up, and pokes him in the eyes rather aggressively. Mo cries, "Oh!" and falls to the ground, his hands covering his eyes. He quickly works himself up, gives Larry a death glare, and says a chilling line. "If you want a war, you'll get a war." He smacks Larry upside the head, leaving Larry disoriented and in pain. He pushes Coley out of the way, who has finished laying out all of his tools. Mo bends down and picks up a screwdriver. He runs over to Larry, who is still hunched over in pain. He taps Larry on the shoulder. Larry looks up, and Mo drives the screwdriver into Larry's eye. By now, 3 of the 4 audience members had gone up and left the theater. Children crying, women screaming in fear. The only remaining audience member was a man in his 20s, an amateur movie maker studying the art of movies and television shows so that one day a film could be in theaters. So he was disgusted by what he saw, but he had no idea that all of the stuff he was seeing was real. He continued to take notes about the film's violent nature. The 3 audience members report to the staff, who assume that the wrong movie is playing, and also assume that everyone has left the theater, so they left the film running. Mo lets go the screwdriver and puts his bloody hands over his eyes, appearing to block the violence away from his vision. The camera now focuses on Larry, now crying, blood running down his face. Larry drops to the trap and passes out from shock. It is unknown if Larry is even alive by now, but if it even matters, Mo bends down and yanks the screwdriver out of the eye. The screwdriver possibly penetrating the brain, leaving Larry motionless on the trap. Mo faces the camera and mutters, "You heartless, sick bat." The film is obviously edited out, but a puddle of blood had now formed underneath Larry, and Mo had multiple bruises and cuts on his face now. The man watching the film later complained to authorities that the film began to get fuzzy in the story, giving him a headache. A headache indeed. The film appeared to be damaged at this part in the film reel, as the screen flashes white and black rapidly, leaving the next scenes of the events illegible for the next few minutes. After the flashing stops, the audio appears not to work anymore, as it appears Mo is saying something to Coley. but it is impossible to hear what they are saying. Since the beginning and the end of the white flashing, Mo appears to have new cuts and Coley appears to have a sliced lip. Larry is now obviously dead, but the advocates take no notice of him. Mo now poses to be sawing some wood with a rusty old saw, and Coley is hammering some nails onto the wall for no apparent reason. As Coley walks across the room to get some more nails off screen, he slips on one of the tools that he laid out and reaches for Mo to help him. He accidentally grabs Mo for grabs for the saw, scratching his hand vigorously as he hits the ground with a thud. The audio abruptly begins to work again here, and Coley is now heard whimpering as he crawls off screen, leaving a trail of blood. "You fool! Somebody could have gotten hurt!" Mo shouts. He scores Coley when he walks back onto the screen by giving him a sturdy punch in the stomach. A strange look comes upon Coley's face as he bends over and vomits up a little fluid. Small chuckles and snickers are heard in the background as Coley returns to punching nails onto the wall, now breathing heavier as if he's about to burst into tears. About 5 minutes pass, and Coley asks for help for Mo to nail some more nails onto the wall. Mo holds the nail at Coley's, as Coley hammers the nail more and more into the wall. You expect Coley to hit Mo on the thumb with the hammer, but luckily it doesn't happen. Instead, when Mo walks back to sawing more wood, he asks Coley for some help. Coley holds the wooden plank for Mo, who messily cuts and deliberately lets the saw blades glaze on Coley's fingers. Coley trickily claws away with a furious look on his face. He picks up a hammer and swings the hammer into Mo's genitals. As Mo falls to the floor, blood and semen leak out from his pants. He gasps for breath as he grabs Coley's waist and begins to bite. Coley gives another swing of a hammer to Mo's head, leaving it dislocated with the bones shattered. Mo crawls over to the saw, now on the floor, and throws it at Coley. The saw blade penetrates Coley's big round belly as blood oozes out of both his stomach and mouth. He lets go of the hammer, which falls upon his toes, leaving a large echoing cracking sound. Mo begins to mumble gibberish and slurred sentences about toys and sports, then rude remarks about his mother and his genitals. As he talks and faces the camera, blood often manages to spew out of his mouth and onto the lens of the camera. During the middle of one of his sentences, he collapses to the ground, barely even alive, and manages to grab the hammer, still mumbling out on and on about nonsense. And he hits with his last bit of strength at Mo, who is now unconscious. The hammer slams into his back, souring his spine. Coley manages to laugh a little bit, but then passes out from blood loss. Loud laughter is now heard as the film reel decays, leaving a plain white screen. The laughter soon fades out, and the one man in the office is left in awe. Police arrive a few minutes later, who manage to seize the film and evacuate the field from possible threats. Aftermath and analysis. When police entered the room where the film was being projected onto the screen, they found a man, supposedly the one who was originally supposed to air halfway Charlie, tied up and intensely beaten. The man remembers little and is worried that the man who tied him up might come back and kill him if he gives any information to the police. It is obvious that the wounds that the man had taken were not self-inflicted, and he is still a major suspect in the chase. The man who had made the film reel is said to be a sadistic filmmaker who was addicted to the Three Stooges. Police have no information on him at all, apart from some evidence from the film. Police have 3 things to work with in the film. For a few seconds, a silhouette appears of a man holding something similar to a clipboard. The silhouette then goes out of sight. The second piece of evidence is a few mistakes he had with the film, as he accidentally revealed his tone of voice with a few snickers he had let escape out of his mouth multiple times. His voice is deep and hollow, and it seems to belong to a white man in his 50s. The third piece of evidence is visible when the man appears to signal for something to come to him, letting his hand come onto the camera. His hand has multiple scars, wrinkles, and freckles, signaling that he is in his late 50s when the film aired that day. The actor for Coley was actually an autistic man kidnapped from a mental hospital when he wandered out the front door and down the street. The actor for Mo was a businessman who was addicted to drinking alcohol and doing drugs. He was kidnapped on his way to work. The actress for Larry was a cheating wife who had 4 husbands. She was kidnapped while walking to her job. The 3 had no relations in any way, but what the police did discover that they each had flaws in their lives, and the police assumed that the madman wanted to make life more perfect by erasing all flaws from the human race. The film was shot on location in a local abandoned office building. The actor for Mo was pronounced dead. The actress for Larry was also pronounced dead, but the actor for Coley was in critical condition and was on the verge of death. He slowly recovered and managed to live for a few more years until committing suicide. He did not tell the police much, but what he did tell was rather helpful. The man went out the door and drove away. He told one of his friends that he was going far, far away. Police have been on the lookout all over the country, but there has been no luck. The reward for catching him has been raised to $5 million. Columbia Pictures was notified about this event, but refused to comment on it. A couple of the workers quit from Columbia shortly afterwards, believing that one of them possibly could have been the person that made this film. As for the amateur filmmaker, he came out to be my grandfather, who happened to tell me this whole story. He has been questioned by authorities as well, and is also a major factor in this. And the man who made the film is probably dead. If he was in his 50s, 70 years ago, the case can be dismissed and all can be at peace. But hey, what the hell do I know? I'm just some guy on the internet telling this story.